Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am Gabriel.
Hey, Jerry here.
And I'm Cytus.
And we have Cytus, which was not with us last week. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, so I'm Cytus. I'm also classmates with Gabriel and Jerry for 20 years? 20 years and counting.
Yeah, something like
20
that.
years?
Yeah, and similar situation where I studied abroad after I got out of high school. I studied in New York, Pratt Institute for 4 years, and then I worked in the US for around 3 years, and I came back to Hong Kong. So I guess I am kind of qualified to talk about the topics we're going to talk about.
Yes, we try to select people to come on this podcast very, very carefully.
Yeah, sure, of course we do.
What are we going to talk about? DLC, what's DLC?
Yeah, so DLC, some of you might think stands for downloadable content, but contrary to popular belief, it is actually a short form for iced lemon tea in Cantonese. Iced lemon tea in Cantonese is Ling Cha, and DLC just stands for that. And you can see from our profile page and on our YouTube page, it's all iced tea themed, and we are iced tea fanatics. That is why we chose that as our podcast name.
I think at first we want to choose a podcast title, a name that could relate back to us. I think a lot of the names, like we start with like Cha Chan Tang or like Yum Cha or something like that, but we thought that DLC Ling Cha might be a good way, a good name or fun name for us.
Well, we should explain what Ling Cha is. You know, it's not a thing in US.
That is true. So Ling Cha is literally translated to iced lemon tea, and in Hong Kong we have iced tea, and it is kind of a sweet beverage, and it is a very common beverage during lunch or dinner when you go out and whatnot. And what's interesting is that in the States or in any Western countries, when you say iced tea, because whenever we say iced lemon tea, we just shorten it to iced tea. When you order iced tea in a Western country, they give you tea with ice,
Yep.
and
Yep.
there's no lemon to it. And the first time when I ordered it, it caught me by surprise, and I was just drinking this tea that was bitter and cold, and I did not like it at all. So if we wanted something similar in the States, it would be something like a sweet tea would be something similar to iced lemon tea in Hong Kong.
To summarize what Gabriel just said, it's basically Arizona tea lemon flavor.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. Yep.
But
I have no idea how that tastes like.
less sugar.
No, you, like in Hong Kong, you use syrup instead of sugar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know
right.
I don't know what they put into Arizona tea. I just know it's not something that people should drink. It's way too sweet. I have
Really?
no idea what they put in it.
Yeah, that's the demographic. I mean, everything is super sweet here. Overconsumption is the name of the game, which is quite different from Hong Kong. I feel like Hong Kong, a lot of things are more moderate. Like they aren't, like the portion size of the meals are smaller or more manageable, and things aren't over seasoned at like a fast food restaurant or something like that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
hard feelings. I also drink Arizona tea, just saying. Yeah, what were you gonna say, Jerry?
No, I just think that Hong Kong tea are generally a lot stronger because you're gonna add a lot of like supplements or like syrup and lemon to balance out the flavor. I've never tried Arizona tea, so I don't know how that tastes, but I think everyone should try out Ling Cha, and there's a special beverage that everyone should give it a try.
Well, it's funny when we talk about Ling Cha. This reminds me of one Asian thing that we always do when we order Ling Cha. It's like we always ask for less ice.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Looping, you know, like
Yeah.
you know what the mentality behind
yeah,
it is,
yeah.
right?
It's to,
It's the men
yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah, the mentality is with less sugar, it gets less diluted, so you get more drink.
Yeah,
Yes.
you get
Yes,
more
that's
worth your
exactly.
value. Yeah, exactly.
Such
I
an Asian way to think about it.
I actually still do that with all my beverages. Like if I go to Starbucks or if I get like bubble tea here, I get less ice on everything. I still want it cold, but I don't want it diluted.
Less ice I get it. Less sugar. It's just a health concern, right?
Oh, were you saying less sugar or were you saying less ice?
Both. I mean,
Oh, okay, okay,
it,
okay. Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
I
But
mean, ice I definitely get it because you get more tea, right?
yeah, exactly. But for me, I
Right.
have an extremely sweet tooth, so I go hard on the sugar.
Yeah, me too. I never asked for less sugar, but definitely less ice.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the perfect name, which involves true Asian incentives in our podcast name. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of our first podcast, so Elo wasn't here. Oh, sorry. Let me start over. Speaking of our first podcast, Cytus wasn't here with us, and we were talking about how university or college should be our one of our best experience. We kind of touched over that, but we didn't kind of go deep into it. Maybe Cyrus can talk about his experience in New York with colleges and universities, and if he thinks that if the college experience should or should not be the best time of your life or something like that.
Mm. Uh, yeah, I got some thoughts on that. Before that, I wanted to just clarify Gabriel's calling me Yila. That's also related. Okay, Yila is my Chinese name,
Mm.
and on even on my birth certificate and every government issued identification, my name is Yilet. But it's just the direct translation of my name in Chinese written in English.
Mm-hmm.
So Cytus my actual English name that I've chosen for myself. And yeah, surprisingly, my parents told me to choose one when I'm 18, and I postponed it until it was like I was 24, and I thought, yeah, I might as well choose one right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to the topic. How was college for me? College for me, I don't think I really gave justice to my college life.
Mm.
You're looking at three very introverted people
Exactly. Yeah.
who doesn't really participate in normal college or university culture. And I personally got asked once to join a frat,
Mm.
which I instantly refused. Um, Not because of frats, just because of my introvertness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I pretty much spend the whole uni life working, playing games, and sleeping. And and to say it's the best time of my life, I would say yes and no. Because yes, because I was able to really choose subjects that I was interested in, and the whole and oh, I was studying industrial design, so the whole it wasn't technically like lectures or there were lectures, of course, but most of the time there was also like workshops, discussions, projects. Yeah, so overall it was pretty fun for me. I don't necessarily think that I have a bad college life, just not just a perspective from like an introverted person in the college setting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we all had a pretty similar experience because, like you said, we're all introverted. We just play games and that's all we know. But yeah, I feel like to actually to enjoy a full college experience, you would really have to put yourself out there, and I feel like a lot of when people say, "Oh, college was their best life," was because they didn't have the chance or didn't have the opportunity to actually experience things outside of what they grew up in. If you grew up in like a small town, or if you grew up somewhere where people in the area was not around your age, if you were homeschooled or something, college was the first time you can experience something that is outside of your immediate shelter. But for us, I think we had that experience during high school. We the first time we went out drinking, the first time, going out on a camp trip with your friends without like supervision or something like that. And we all experienced that in high school, and I think that is why we felt that, oh, college is not that exciting. It wasn't anything more special than what we already had.
Was that the
I
case
think
in Australia?
I think like you said you almost joined a club or whatever, right? I think for me, I almost joined an anime club.
Ooh.
But actually, funny story. It was like those first day of uni. They like set up all the booth and all that, and I walked towards the anime club because I'm a huge weeb, right? And then I saw their banners and the people sitting there. I'm like, yikes, maybe not. I mean, they're a bit too much for me. So I skipped on the anime club and I pushed out. But also, because I'm a management student, there's a lot of essay writing and all that. So for me, uni was actually fun as long as you can manage time wisely.
Right.
I work a lot in uni, a lot of essay writing, as I say. So I usually work from Monday to Saturday, just non-stop writing essays, and usually have fun on the weekend, especially on Sunday where you guys are all in America. So we got to like stick together and play some games on a Sunday morning.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I think I also joined a club when I was in university. Actually, I joined a League of Legends club, and the only reason why I joined it was because they had like a raffling. So the first 2 weeks, I would say first 2 to 3 weeks of starting school, they would have club activities to try to recruit all kinds of new members, and their incentive was that if you join, you get into a raffle and they'll give you RP, which is basically money in the game, for League of Legends. And I joined it. I didn't win the raffle. I stayed for another like 2-3 weeks, and I'm like, I could do this at home and just play League at home. So I'm just gonna go back to my dorm and do that instead.
They do it on a Sunday?
Yeah, so it was like a weekly thing. And they also held local tournaments where you could go in, and it's basically a LAN party, and you form your own groups and you play with other people. I joined it once. We got defeated. We didn't even made it past like the first round, and then I just went home. I never went back to that club ever again. So I would say that was an interesting experience.
No.
Yeah, this topic is very interesting because you're getting a inside view of free introverts. So, I don't think we're that qualified to even talk about college.
Right.
I don't even have many friends, to be honest, in uni. They're all like just classmates, like you add them on Facebook, add them on Messenger. After a project, they're gone,
Yeah.
Maybe you say hi to them when you walk past uni, but I wouldn't necessarily say I met a lot of friends because just don't like to hang out with too many people that I don't really know.
Right. And
I
it's
used
hard
to be a firstborn. You go ahead.
Yeah, it's hard to form like a connection with people that you only see, I guess, like once a week or something like that. Back in high school, we would see each other every single day, right? So it's kind of
Right,
like
exactly.
you're forced in that environment where you have to get along. But in
And I
college,
think for us, because some of us even started in kindergarten till now,
Right.
so that's a long time. Because I joined my high school with you guys around grade 3,
Mhm.
so yeah, until like grade 10. So that's a lot of years together. So yeah.
Oh, I thought you joined earlier, so I joined at grade 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, so
Oh,
I was
okay. I
1
didn't
year
know that.
before you. Huh.
Yeah.
And Elon is the Cytus is the oldest member in within our high school community, if you will.
For viewers who don't know what we were talking about, we were talking about our elementary school, middle school, high school life. Yeah, we're basically been together. You have to see their faces every single day for like 20 years.
Yeah, pretty much. We're actually in like different class until like high school, right?
Yes. Or
kind of. At least for Elon.
I was with Elon for a while in elementary, and then we were in different classes in middle school.
Right, but that doesn't matter because high school we're just all
high school was where we
classes and all that.
Yep, exactly.
To clarify, this is a international school, English speaking in Hong Kong. So I guess we won't have the most native experience. Yeah. I guess back to our topic, which is college. How do you guys think college would be different between like our experience of college versus in Hong Kong or in other Asian countries?
I think the first thing that comes to mind if I were to study in Hong Kong as opposed to US is that I would never live in a dorm, or I would never live alone, because for economical reasons I would always just stay at home, and that's probably what my parents prefer as well. Because you
mean in Hong Kong?
Yeah, in Hong Kong, even in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
Because you can, the travel time from anywhere in Hong Kong, one spot to another, is maximum. I think it's like 2 hours or 1 hour.
Yeah, 1 to 2.
1 to 2 hours, and 1 to 2 hour travel time, is nothing per day to get to work or to get to school in Hong Kong. And I feel like that would have greatly affected my independence as a growing adult, and I would not, make the same decisions that I would have.
And like transportation is so much more accessible in Hong Kong because public transportation, that's what I mean, like MTR and buses. So yeah, it makes no sense to rent an apartment outside of Hong Kong, like outside of like near university per se.
How about like classes or like the culture inside?
The culture with Hong Kong universities? I feel like we might not be the best people to talk about, because all three of us did not go to a Hong Kong university.
Right, I mean,
no clue.
Status quo wise.
Right, from what I've heard, I don't think it would be much different. I don't know.
No?
I feel like, because at the end of the day, you're still, pursuing an education, but just with a different environment, right?
Yeah, I think so too, because they have to tailor to international students as well, right? So all the lecture materials are actually all in English.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's actually all in English.
Would an Asian person in an Asian university or college also think that college is their best time of their lives then? I mean, if you're an extrovert and you're willing to join other clubs unlike us, then I think there are a lot more opportunities. Because the friends that I know that have studied in Hong Kong University, they usually join a lot of clubs. So they meet a lot of people and actually turn from introvert to extrovert. But I do
personal.
I feel like in Hong Kong or maybe in other Asian countries, you're more forced into like social groups settings. I feel like.
So do you think?
I'm not sure about that though. I think it's just a personal choice.
Okay, so do you think that our lack in involvement in university was due to us being Asian and not and being a minority in the environment? Like I can before even going to high school with you guys, I was a pretty introverted person, but now that I am around you guys, I would say that I'm an extrovert only if I'm with my closest friends. But
True.
That's
I mean, that's all of us. That's all of us.
right, that's all of us. So that's why my original question, saying that let's say that we entered university without existing friends, right? We didn't have a support to go back on, and we would be basically forced to find our own friend group. And once you click with whoever during university, then you would become more. You would say that is your best time of your life because you have found your group of friends or your moments to become an extrovert.
I mean, like I have like at most 10 friends in uni, right? But I think I still very much so enjoy my time in uni. Like even though I don't have many friends, and yeah, I think I just like being alone. But yeah.
Spoken like a true introvert. I like it.
So I don't think if I join a lot of clubs and make a lot of friends will necessarily make my uni life more fun because I actually really enjoyed it already. Just being alone and listening to lectures and doing my work.
Right.
Because for me to fulfill, like for myself, I like to like achieve certain goals. And uni was great for that because there are so many assignments. Just set goals every day for yourself, and you just tick, and that just give myself a self high, you know. So I really enjoyed that time. I had a lot of fun just doing assignment and achieving the grades that I want.
All right, that's a fair point.
So yeah, friends doesn't really matter. I like social life. I don't think it will enhance my experience in uni.
I think Gabriel had a good point where he's saying that you have to find the right people you click with in order to have the best time of your life. Yeah, personally, I when I just moved to the States to study, I was stuck in between now, I feel like. So there were other Asian people who were studying in my school too, and there were a lot of Westerners too, and I always felt like I was stuck in between. Like I wasn't
Exactly right.
Yeah, there were a lot of Chinese people, but I wasn't
Yes.
Chinese enough to be like included. I mean they definitely asked me to be included into their group, but I just don't feel the connection. And then there are also Westerners that approach me, and I also felt like I wasn't Western enough to fit in. So I always felt like I was stuck in between the two demographics, and yeah, it was I guess it was hard for me to adapt in that sense. Like I couldn't find the people I felt a really good connection with in uni. Do you guys have that feeling?
I definitely did. Like you said, in my university, there were a lot of Asian students, Chinese mainly. We were acquaintances, like we would chat in class or whatever, but we would never.
Yep.
The most we would do is grab lunch after class, and that's about it. I would never hit them up or something like that. And what's funny is that I have been doing that my whole 4 years of university until the very last semester, where I was in my capstone project, which is basically required for me to graduate. It was my last class I had to take, and that is when I met a Hong Kong person in the same class, and we just clicked it off immediately.
Wow.
And I would hang out with him almost every other day or something like that, either for classes or for gym, whatever. Which is kind of weird because we clicked based on the fact that we both are from Hong Kong and that we both spoke Cantonese, and it just, it felt like talking to a friend when I was talking to him. So I can definitely see how, like, where you don't seem to like fit in when in like a Chinese community or like in a Western community, and you would always find like comfort in similarities, right? In people with similar origins and stuff like that.
mean, like I still fell into like the Hong Kong group, but even within our small group, you could tell that I'm kind of different from them because they usually like just communicate in Chinese, and I just reply in English because that's much quicker for me, or even like voice message. So yeah, I definitely get what you guys are talking about, and I never actually considered going into the Western side because in my uni in particular, the Chinese and the Western are so different. Like there's no ABC. It's either you're Chinese or you're Western. So yeah, and I don't think they mix well together in my uni.
I think Jerry brought up a good point. Like, even if you are in Hong Kong, like the topic you guys were talking about, like last time, if you consider yourself local,
Yep.
yeah, same. When I text, I purely use English, and even in Hong Kong, I have that feeling sometimes where I mean, I wouldn't consider myself as an ABC, but I definitely don't consider myself as a local, like a very native local person as well. And I guess that stems from uh, the the culture
It's
I
the
was,
international school culture, I think.
yeah, the
Yeah.
culture I was educated into, the media I'm exposed to, and yeah, I just we just have different interests and different um, stuff we would engage in from like a local person. Uh,
So going a bit off topic, would you guys say that you regret going to the university or college that you went to?
no,
You wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it was a pretty good university. I had good times in there too.
Okay.
wait, are you saying based off like only your experience of college, or are you basing this off of like every factor together? 'Cause-
Well, so if you had the powers to go back and make a different choice, would you have went to the same university?
yeah, I would go back, but I'll probably try to not be so introverted.
Okay, so you would approach it differently, but you would still go to
I,
the same
I
university and
would,
stuff. Okay.
I would. Go
Okay.
ahead, Jerry. Go
So
ahead.
yeah. So are you asking like if I get to like choose from a free range of option, like
Yeah.
to choose from going to university in Hong Kong compared to Australia or anywhere else?
Yep.
No, I think Hong Kong universities are actually pretty hard to get in.
They are hard to get in. They
Oh,
are.
just let's say you can go in. Let's say you could go to any university you would want to.
Like it's a given that you
I
accept.
think it's just my philosophy that there's always a reason for everything. So I think the university kind of chose me.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna stick with what happened and never regret it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I
I think
still
so.
got my degree, so all good.
I asked this question because I kind of regret going to my university. So I went to Purdue. It is a pretty good engineering university, but I feel like I would have had a better time if I went to somewhere that I had some close friends that were going. I would have chosen some university where I would apply to the same universities as some of my friends, so that I can experience the college life together, as opposed to venturing out alone and kind of be in the middle of nowhere for 4 years.
When you say with friends, do you mean like people you've known already?
Yeah, so like you
The high
guys, like
school
people that
friends.
I've known from high school, exactly. Because at the time, I did not know the value of our friendships. I felt like, I have friends here, so it's easy to make friends everywhere. And once I went to university, that did not seem to be the case. And I wonder if it's because of my introvertedness, or just the decisions that I've made during my stay in university. But I would much rather have enjoyed 4 years of, I don't know, college experience with people I already know rather than, venture out and kind of end up here. Because I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, I would still end up where I am now. I feel like the college degree, as long as you get a college degree, you are pretty much, after your first job, that college degree doesn't really matter much.
Even in Hong Kong, if you do a degree in Hong Kong, you still think that you would go to America and like I don't agree with that because I think you're more likely to stay in Hong Kong and work if you finish a degree in Hong Kong.
Right, that is true. I was, when I was saying go to another university with my friends, I was kind of going off the assumptions that my friend is also going to US. So I should have. Yeah, because like you said, if I studied in Hong Kong, I probably would never leave Hong Kong. But being in Hong Kong also limits all my job prospects. So that's why I think I didn't even apply to any Hong Kong universities during high school.
I don't know because me and Cytus, we both choose to come back to Hong Kong instead of staying where we graduated. So I'm not sure how I relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, I mean, I have my own like reasons for leaving the States, and I mean, some of it is decision, some of it is like a series of events that led up to it. But like ultimately, no, I would agree to Gabriel. Like speaking of opportunities and jobs, you definitely want to stay in the States. That's where all the money is. That's where all the world leading institutes are, companies, everything. Yeah. So in terms of finding having a job, I would definitely want to stay in the States. I mean, a little bit background on what I did was after I so I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I've been running on a visa after I graduate, and every student has a 1 year visa, working visa, where you can use. So I did my 1 year in a small company in New York, and after that I applied for another O1 visa, which was another type of work visa where you have to apply for, and using that visa, I could work for like 3 more years. So I did about around 2 more years, and then COVID hit, and then I thought I should go back to Hong Kong earlier than I planned. So going back to Hong Kong was always in my plan, because I wasn't a citizen. If I had to stay in the U.S., I would have to redo my visa again every 3 years for about, or maybe 4 to 5 times, and I cannot switch companies. That's one thing, and yeah, and basically after maybe like 12 to 15 years, I would apply for the green card, not citizenship yet. So it's a vigorous process, and I would be stuck with my company for that amount of time. Given that I'm able to be with the company for that long. So yeah, it's a very different process for me, and I've always wanted to start my own businesses, and throughout my time in America, I thought that I'm not bound to a single place. So yeah, like for then I would want to physically be in America. But with the internet so advanced now, I feel like that doesn't have to be the case. So I come back to Hong Kong, and now I live in my parents' basement. So that's great. That's going great for me.
I think I had the same problem kind of, but for me, Australia, the visa is a graduate visa is 3 years. So I get 3 years of time to find a job and get a sponsorship. And I think around 7 year time, we would like I would have a chance to like apply for green card or something like that. But the problem for me is I couldn't even get a job. So I remember very clearly one time there were those during my last year of my university, there were like those career fairs where all the companies set up booths. I would literally go around the fair in a circle, and none of them would take international students, or they would like sponsor a visa. So after knowing that and trying to search for a job for half a year where no one wants me, I decided to just come back and to be honest, not too sure what will happen later on. I think Hong Kong has a lot of opportunity, but definitely work-life balance is an issue here, I think. So yeah. Sorry, Gabriel, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, speaking of Cytus's parents' basement, so we have this Chinese philosophy where you kind of take care of the elderly, take care of your family when you're able to, and there's this idea of kind of giving back kind of allowance back to your parents once you get a full-time job or something like that. And since you guys are living with your parents, it kind of makes more sense to just let me chip in food or rent or something like that. And how strictly does that get imposed on the both of you? Because personally, I do not give any allowance back to my parents. I think it makes less sense here because I'm not living under their roof. I'm not, they're not providing anything for me anymore. And one of the main goals for my parents raising me was that, once you are independent, their job is done. Basically, they're happy if I'm independent and don't rely on them anymore. And I'm sure it's pretty different since you both are still living with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me try to explain this concept to our viewers. So in Chinese tradition, especially in Hong Kong, there's a concept called 家用, which is home allowance, which is pretty much a standard dividend of every month. So you pay a set amount to your parents for either like living in their place or like just taking care of them after you get a stable job, right? So I think that in a Western style country, I don't think this is ever something that would be brought up. But for me, I choose to immediately start giving this home day allowance once I got my job.
Oh, okay.
And I think it really depends on the financial situation of the family. Some people actually would give out a huge portion of their salary to support their family, and some would just give a small amount just for them to buy more food or like just upgrade their day-to-day expenses. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't want to disclose how much I pay them, but yes, I do have to give that.
You can give it in percentage points.
I wanted to give around 10%, but realistically, it's more like 20 to 30. But again, this 家用 concept is very broad. Like some people would say, once I leave my household and I form my own family, I no longer have to give home allowance. But some of them would continue to give, like all of my family members, like they would continue to give until their parents like actually pass away or whatever, But again, this concept is slowly fading away, I feel like. So a lot of family members actually don't require their children to do that anymore because expenses in Hong Kong is very, very high.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
Okay. This 家用 thing is pretty interesting in my family. Like, so what you hear from Jerry was a pretty, I would say, is a very ordinary, like it happens in every family in Hong Kong.
Yes,
basically.
very true.
I wouldn't call it traditional. I feel like it's just more of like a, like a standard occurrence of
Yeah.
what you do. It's different from America where you know parents say you're 18, you're independent, you do you, I do I,
Right.
stuff like that. In Asian culture, you feel like you take care of your parents when they are old,
Hmm.
uh, and vice versa. Like and they help you when you're young, and I feel like that's that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
What I don't think makes sense is the need for you to pay them at the start of your career path.
Mm.
Um, well, but I mean that's a shared philosophy. At least I think in my family, which run things a little bit different. Um, so I don't give Gaiam too. And why this is the case is I give it to them in another form. I help them do their financial management, and
Mm.
through that, um, it covers basically. I can give them I can provide them a lot more than what I would give them in a percentage base of my wage. And second of all, my wage I would pour everything into investments, and using that I can compound through the years. And basically, what I'm betting on is them giving me a little bit more time, supporting me for a little bit more time.
Hmm.
And by the time when they actually retire or they actually couldn't work, that I could fully provide for them, like in terms of every single way. Um, yeah, and that's the philosophy in my family, which is pretty different from average like families or like other family thinkings in Hong Kong.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I think
that my yeah. Go ahead.
my family is very much like that. We're very non-traditional because we have a lot of family in the States, and so a lot of our thinking is westernized. And like I said previously, my dad told me once I get to the age of being independent and no longer depending on them, then they think that their job is done. And if I want to repay them, it is on my own accord. They won't force me to it because I feel like if you force someone to do something, there's always some kind of resentment. And so after I graduated college, right after I got my first job, I basically had no financial support from my parents, and I think that was my way of telling them, "You did a good job. You have raised me up to this point, and you have succeeded what you set out to do. So you no longer have to worry about me. And later in life, when they cannot work anymore, I can, give back to them, provide to them, and to the best of my capabilities, right?"
Yeah, I just want to pitch into to both the philosophies. Like I think Gabriel and Jerry had a good like standardized uh tradition of the Western families way and Asian
Eastern,
country
yeah.
yeah. And I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense to me. Both philosophies. Like
Huh.
first I could talk about the Western side where they just let you do your own
Mm-hmm.
when you're 18. At least in a investment type point of view, like if you have to start by yourself from zero and when you're 18 instead of building on top of what your parents have,
Mm-hmm.
to me that seems like a little bit um I don't know, it doesn't really
It's like a
make sense
loss
to
of
me.
opportunity, right?
You're right. Like I'm not saying that they should like
Give you
provide
all the
for you,
money.
but right. Just because in Asian culture, the parents are more their role is more of like a springboard where they kind of push you to a higher level through education or
Mm-hmm.
through stuff, and so they feel like if I pay for a better education, you will have a better um,
Future,
like the more I invest in you right now, the more you'll be able to give back,
right?
and yeah, and in terms
So
of
I
the
think
age,
like in
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
go
I think
ahead.
we're just like kind of like an investment product for our families in a way.
I mean, yeah, in a
Yeah,
sense, it is. Every child is an investment vehicle in a sense. It could be a negative investment too.
That is
oh
true.
yeah, it depends how you raise a kid. I mean,
It really depends on how you raise a kid. Yeah,
yeah,
and going back to my topic, Asian culture, where after you start working, you're supposed to pay what you have back to the family. Again, I would go back to what I said with the Western culture. Like, I guess it has to do with money management,
Hmm.
and I think this philosophy stems from a more traditional Chinese thinking where the parents would feel like they know better than
Hmm.
compared to you at
Hmm.
least. So they feel like with the money you provide me, I would have better use of it instead of giving it to you.
Hmm.
Would that be is that the reason why? Like,
I mean, like if you think about it, if for example you have like three kids, right?
mm-hmm,
As they grow older and as their salary continue to increase, the dividend amount is actually going to increase as well. So actually, by the no, actually, I'm not even kidding. Like, I know examples like where they have like three kids, and by the time like the parents are like 60, they literally is like getting like a normal monthly pay wage just by the kids' dividend, you know. So the amount of money is actually quite large. So yeah, it's actually I think that's a justifiable concept because you have to start young
Hmm.
in order to get this rolling. It's like habitual thing to pay your parents every month.
Hmm.
Yeah.
but that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting, and
Yeah, I
but
sorry, I
yeah,
want
go
to
ahead.
interject. I kind of want to disagree with saying, oh yeah, starting the kids young, having them pay um, like dividends, like you said. I think it would kind of harm the child's growth, because I think I'm more on board with what Cytus said, where if you let your kid manage their own money, they can grow it to X amount. But if you take apart, let's say in your case, 30% of their pay, um, then I feel like if I had 30% of my pay just gone every month, it would feel like my work is not worth as much, and also I may not be able to sustain myself, and I will have to rely on my parents, even when I should have the ability to support myself. And there's this kind of unhealthy relationship where um, you you are forced to rely on your parents financially, and that kind of skews your um, perception of finance. You won't know the value of things um, when you don't like pay your own bills or you buy your own food. You would always just that is the standard, and you will never get out of that loop almost.
Okay, I just want to add on to that. I think if you're actually in a financial difficult situation, I doubt your family will have to force you to pay that.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you are depending on your family's finance to live a life, then I doubt your family will ask for a gayo
Mm-hmm.
or a home allowance. I think that just makes sense, like basically.
Right.
And another thing is a lot of family in Hong Kong actually relies on their kids to make that money to support their family. Maybe their house is on a mortgage or whatever, so they actually need the money. They
Right.
need the guidance to sustain. So it's not a question of should I, it's I need it, I
Right.
need
Right.
to. So that also justify the idea of guidance. Because not to be honest, like not everyone is so fortunate like us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, actually a lot of Hong Kong people actually do need to rely on their families members' contribution to help with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I guess you're going into the much like deeper part of this topic, as in just the whole society of Hong Kong, and yeah, there are a lot of um, you know, people in the lower tier of the income distribution, and yeah, they do rely on this form of payment in order um, to sustain themselves. And yeah, I feel like this whole thing stems from having real estate prices be
Mm.
way too unaffordable in
Yeah.
Hong Kong compared to the normal wage. And yeah, we basically have insane low amount of minimal pay in Hong Kong, while the prices of real estate is probably even higher than in New York City. And
For reference, do
it's
you know what is the minimum wage in Hong Kong?
what is it now?
7,000 HKD, I think.
Like
What is
do it
it
in
per hour? What
hours,
is it
do it
per
in
hour?
hours. Yeah.
Oh,
Let
I'm
me
not sure about
Is it
ours.
like 20, 25 Hong Kong dollars? Or was
wait,
that a
let
long
me
time
check.
ago?
I don't know. Oh, it's 37.5 per hour. That's what in that's like
Oh, yeah.
10 dollars USD. No, no, not even.
No, it's like
Sorry, five dollars
five,
USD.
six
No.
Five
dollars.
dollars USD.
Right. I think so. The minimum wage here depends on the state, and I'm in
All
the
right.
state of Arizona. I think it's like
I'm pretty sure the average would be like 15 or something.
in Arizona it is 10.5.
Okay.
Oh wait, that's 2018.
I,
2020 is $12 per hour.
I guess we should get like
Oh,
a
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
national $12
Yeah.
national average.
Well, no, that's Arizona.
All right. But it's Arizona.
Mm, yeah.
It's not like major
National
cities in
average.
the US.
I
Yeah.
think we should get more data next time to analyze this topic. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, we should
Um,
definitely go deep into this topic because it's actually something that's very important.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, speaking of which, we were talking about parents, right?
Mm.
And gayong. So is this gayong stemming from okay, let's take out the extreme cases of where the family needs to be sustained through
Mm.
gayong because that's not our demographic. Um, let's say your parents could sustain themselves. Well, is this a form of strictness from our parents, or is this just the way it is? Because everyone's
Mm.
doing it, so I feel like if I don't do it, yeah. What
Mm.
do you think? Or is it because of having strict parents where they would like to follow a certain
I feel like
Um,
it is a bit of both. Like, so I can see that it is through strictness where the parent, you're living under their roof, it's their rules, they cook for you, so you have to contribute. I can see it is a part of that, but also it can be a part of just the parents sheltering their kids. Maybe some parents don't believe that their kids spend wisely, since if you live with your parents, you don't know how much bill is, you don't know how much rent is, right? So there are a lot of hidden costs that uh, a person might not know if they're not paying the actual bills. So maybe it may be a way for parents to kind of shield their child from spending excessively. I might be wrong, but maybe some parents could save up that money and be like, "Hey, look, this is your money that you've been giving me, um, you know, just as safekeeper or something like that." But I can definitely see it can be both.
for me, I think it's the right thing to do because, like right now, I'm living in this household. I'm paying home allowance, and what in return, what I'm getting is my room, my space, Wi-Fi, all that. I don't have to pay. Just actually, to be honest, the amount of money I pay to my parents is so minimal compared to all the
Oh yeah.
expense that they are spending on food and all the other expenses. So um, it's hard because I don't think the amount I'm paying is justifies the overall expenses. But I think again, I think it's an Asian concept to start young, because who know what will I be making in like 30 or 40 years later. So yeah,
Right.
and yeah, nothing more to add to that.
Would you rather pay, let's say, a fixed percentage throughout your life, or have not pay your parents, let's say, to up to a certain point until you make a certain amount of money, and then you pay a fixed amount of money to your parents? Which one would you prefer?
I can't say, because I actually increased my allowance a couple of times, because I think that because I do my own financing, I see that I'm making more money, so I could offer my parent a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, in terms of like my return in my investment and my like all the expenses that I've decreased. But mm, I like to stick to a certain percentage, but
Right.
again, I think a fixed sum amount is a good indicator, and I'm pretty sure the home allowance amount is just gonna increase from now on.
So Jerry's stuck in this dividend game forever.
Yeah, definitely will. And again, my father is very finance savvy, and I'm pretty sure he's putting the money in good use of bringing more food to the table.
How about this, Jerry? Let me ask you. If you don't, let's say you don't have to pay Gayong anymore, what are you gonna use that money on? Yeah.
I don't have the spreadsheet right now, but I did calculate how much I'm spending on Gayong, and it's actually quite an amount in terms of 1 year. But that amount, I think, is hard. I don't know, because it might be like just extra expenses. I might be buying more stuff, or I would put it into investment. But again, if I put it into investment, I could lose. So who
Right.
knows?
Let me ask you this in another way. Do you think you would be better off with the Gayong instead of your parents?
And would you spend it on hookers and cocaine, and why?
Um, let's just say that living with your parents is not the best thing, and I know some of my friends would use the guidance to just say, "Here's the money, I paid you, so how about you just shut up and do your work?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
don't complain. Yeah, yeah. So that's also a factor. It might sound terrible, but
Yeah.
if you don't pay guidance, your family might nag, and it's a good way to keep that peace within the family, because living with your parents is not easy.
I definitely agree. Actually, I think one thing that you did bring up, the clash between family based on money. I think that is such a bad thing to have within a family, because I feel like money is a very touchy subject, even within within people in general, with between friends, between family is even worse, because you can cut off friends or whatever, but you can't really cut off family, and if you do, it is highly frowned upon. And in Hong Kong, you basically cannot cut off your family, because that is where you live, right? Where else are you gonna live? You're gonna go to another family member's place, but then you have the same problem. And I just feel like having money involved be a part of the relationship is just a very bad idea.
And if you do choose to go out and rent your own apartment and do all the expenses on your own, trust me, it's gonna be like a lot more money compared to the home allowance you're giving to your parents. So
Right.
yeah,
In Hong Kong, you're saying.
in Hong Kong, definitely, there's no way to compare. Like there's no way you rent your apartment on your own. Like it just doesn't make sense monetarily. And of course, if you're making good money, then yeah, sure. But right now, no, doesn't make sense.
That's actually an interesting point, because I I definitely calculated into it. Like, yeah, living with your parents in Hong Kong seems only logical. And I think it was the tech lead who also talked about this
Yeah.
during the pandemic.
Hmm.
You first you save money, and it just makes most economical sense for you to do, and especially in Hong Kong, where um, even renting out a decent sized apartment would probably equate to your full month salary, and
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
I guess yeah,
yeah, you did experience living on your own in the States for a couple of years.
yeah.
Um, we talked about this on our first episode, but you weren't here. And would you do you miss that freedom? Do you miss having a place of your own? And how does that affect you going back home?
I think this is a choice I have from from choosing to come back to Hong Kong. Definitely have uh, give and takes, and I mostly looked at it through like financial point of view,
Mm-hmm.
how I could maximize my investments, or yeah, through spending the least here. So yeah, I think it was an active choice
So
that has its perks and also its negatives.
right, if financial um, if finance was the main reason, would you have considered, let's say that going to a third world country like some rural East Asian country, let's say it costs nothing to live there, like rent is nothing, you have Wi-Fi, whatever, um, and food is cost of living is like barely a tenth of what it is now. Would you say it is the same moving there and moving back home, uh, or would you say it's completely different?
Well, I wouldn't say it's the same because
Well, financially,
financially, definitely, financially,
right,
you would choose to live in the cheapest place in the world.
right,
I mean, okay, let me rephrase it. Financially is the first concern.
mm,
Second concern would be other stuff like your friends, culture, your food,
mm,
and don't get me wrong. I really love living in the States for myself, and I definitely miss that in certain times. But yeah, but the financial part just takes over.
mm,
Like
mm.
through consideration between like financially and culturally and just your lifestyle in general, then it was just the most logical thing to do to
Right.
move into with your parents.
And I guess in another foreign country, you would still be on visa anyway, so your problem is still the same.
Yeah, basically the same. And the main point is I think I could do what I want to do using the internet in any country.
Hmm.
So being in the States has its perks, but it doesn't. I won't be limited to being in the States. Yeah.
Hmm.
You guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Well, I mean, I think we all missed the time. Well, not Gabriel, but both of us definitely missed the privacy that we got when we live alone. However, I think the financial factor and the future prospect definitely triumph everything else. And I'm happy to sacrifice my freedom for the current monetary gain and financial um, whatever to sustain right now because it doesn't make sense to rent a house outside of Hong Kong and in Hong Kong living with parents is probably the only way out.
Hmm. I feel like yeah, I do not regret the choice that I made to stay here, and I feel like moving back to Hong Kong would always be my backup plan, because I always know that my parents would invite me to their house if I ever, you know, I don't know, gamble all my money and lose all my assets here, and I would just crawl back to Hong Kong and live with my parents, which is, that is always an option for me, but it is not something that I would actively do, given the choice that I have. Because I'm lucky enough to work here, to be able to sustain myself here, and but yeah, I would not eliminate the option of going back to Hong Kong eventually, when I do have the ability to move back to Hong Kong and then be with my parents when they grow older. All right, so if we have nothing more to say, I think we're nearing the end of episode 2. I hope everybody enjoyed looking at our faces. I know episode 1 was kind of scuffed. It was only a picture of our cats, and no, don't do that. Don't do that. They're not sponsoring us. Do not do that. Unless
shout out to our sponsors.
If eToro wants to sponsor us,
eToro, if you're looking, if you're looking at this,
if anyone wants to sponsor us, we
sponsor,
are.
You know where
available.
to find me. My email is on the YouTube page.
No, it's not. It's not gonna be on the YouTube page.
Speaking of our YouTube page, so this podcast is in video form on YouTube, but it is on SoundCloud and Spotify as well, audio only. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're trying to get on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and whatever podcast you would like. Just place it down in the comments. Yeah, we're trying to get on it, and yeah, as soon as we're up.
To beat the algorithm, we're also probably gonna do every week. So we're gonna publish a podcast every week, and do let us know anything you guys want to change, and leave us any advice in the comment below.
Yep, please like and subscribe so the algorithm wouldn't put us to nowhere. Peace. Love you all, you guys. Love you, Jerry.
Take
Love
care,
you,
everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Love you guys.
We'll talk to you
Love
guys
you guys.
next time.
Thank you. See you next week.
Goodbye.
See you next week. Bye.